We are living in a cyber age, and it's the new theater of operations for the military and really for all of us. The future is now. I mean, what's happened is over the course of time, hardware has given over to software. Military functions are being performed by software. They used to be performed by people. If an adversary wanted to harm the U.S., the use of stolen U.S. software could be helpful in doing that. Many of us don't fully understand how digital our age really has become. For example, digital methods are used to control all kinds of things, everything from bridges, it can mean ports, it can mean dams, it can mean the power grid. There are a lot of Americans that don't fully understand how serious a threat we're fighting.
As a former FBI agent and chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, I had oversight of all 16 of our nation's intelligence agencies. My name is Mike Rogers. I had access to classified information gathered by our operatives, people who risked everything for the United States and our families. You don't know their faces or their names. You don't know the real stories from the people who lived the fear and the pressure until now.
So in December of 2009, I had joined the Counterproliferation Investigations Unit for HSI in Philadelphia. It sounds very technical, but all it is just to try to prevent U.S. technology from getting into the wrong hands.
Illegal acquisitions of U.S. goods and technology can assist our adversaries in harming U.S. soldiers, citizens, and allies.
Basically, what we do is we go out to companies all around the country so that they know who we are and can call us if they see any wrongdoing. So my first outreach was to a company called AGI. They're a U.S. defense contractor, and they produce complex three-dimensional simulation software called STK, Satellite Toolkit. That wasn't my world. I mean, I was coming from investigating narcotics trafficking. What really opened my eyes to the importance of this technology at AGI was a simulation that they ran for me of a ballistic missile launch from North Korea to Hawaii. And in this simulation, I looked at US satellites, literally where they were in outer space, to figure out how can they do this launch at just the right time when our satellites aren't watching to get that missile up and over so they could strike Hawaii before we're ready to defend ourselves. And that kind of opened my eyes to the importance of the software and why it shouldn't be in the wrong hands. So I came to the end of my presentation, and almost as an afterthought, the export control officer pulled me aside and showed me Crack 99. He showed me AGI's STK software advertised for $1,000 on a Chinese website where it didn't belong. He said, I'm not sure that they actually have it because in order to sell our product, they would need the electronic license files, almost like an electronic key that accompany this product, or the program won't work. So he wasn't sure whether they actually had it or not. I had to find out. I spoke with my supervisor, Mike, about my visit to AGI and the discovery of Crack 99.
The two things we decided on was that, one, we're gonna initiate an undercover operation, and two, we're gonna need to call Dave Hall. Dave had a proven track record. I knew that Dave understood the complexities of these types of investigations, and based on the fact that it was sensitive technology, we knew that he would be the perfect prosecutor for this investigation.
One of the concerns we had at the beginning of the investigation was whether this person was working for the Chinese government. Generally speaking, they are considered to be an adversary of the United States, and this software had direct military application, and it gives us an advantage strategically in dealing with adversaries.
Figuring out who was behind Crack 99 was a little bit like finding a needle in a haystack. Operating in anonymity on the internet makes it a lot easier to commit these crimes.
AGI had done a little bit of their own research. They looked into where is this site hosted? And sure enough, it was hosted in China, in the city of Chengdu, under the name Zhang Li. I want to know, what are we looking at? How big is this? I wanted to make an undercover purchase.
Crack 99 offered a very unique insertion point for an undercover operation because there was a website that was open to the public.
I called a colleague of mine from the Defense Criminal Investigative Service, DCIS, who works as an undercover agent and could take on the undercover persona for this case. I knew that's where this was going to go.
DCIS and HSI work together to stop the trafficking of critical DoD weapons systems and technology. We don't want bad guys getting our stuff. This would provide our enemies with an advantage having the same weapons we have. We don't want to have a level playing field. We want to have the upper hand. Our mission is to protect the warfighter, and in the end, they protect us. When I first saw the website, it was like a bad 80s television commercial. It really was sloppy. It was like a Amazon or eBay of pirated software, but this is technology that isn't off the shelf. It's not available to even U.S. citizens. It was pretty clear this was a threat to national security.
Our first investigative step was to send an email. We asked to purchase Satellite Toolkit for $1,000. The retail value of that software was more like $150,000.
He wrote us back. In the email, he laid out payment instructions, send payment via Western Union. Myself and the DCIS undercover agent, we drove to the first Western Union we could find in the state of Delaware, and we sent $1,000 to China.
Not knowing the background of who's running the website, I wasn't confident that we were going to get what we paid for.
Maybe it's a scam. Maybe we're about to get ripped off. We don't know at this point. Essentially, we're collecting evidence. That's why we have to make the purchase and then see what happens from there.
We opened up our undercover laptop computer, and we just waited. And later on that day, he sent us the download links. And he gave us instructions in broken English on how to unpack the files and download the software. We brought the evidence over to AGI. And the head of IT unpacked these files. He was floored by what he saw. We had every single one of their programs, all operational.
This technology gives us an advantage on the battlefield, and the threat posed by an operation like this is that he could sell it to anyone who is willing to pay for it. It can go to adversaries of the United States, it can go to terrorist organizations, it can go to criminal organizations.
This software finding its way into the wrong hands is equally as dangerous as any weapon.
The reaction, once we realized that the software was legitimate, was, what else do they have?
U.S. defense software was being sold on a Chinese website where it didn't belong, called Crack 99.
This software had direct military application, and the implications are scary because there is no way of restraining the sales. It can go to terrorist organizations, it can go to criminal organizations.
The reaction, once we realized that the software was legitimate, was, what else do they have?
Ultimately, our goal in the undercover investigation was to successfully prosecute in a U.S. court of law. We knew we were dealing with a person who was holding himself out as Zhang Li, but in addition to not knowing if that was a real person, we didn't know if that was the only person involved. We had a large number of questions about the operation.
We needed to figure out a way of getting a viable target. So in January 2010, I requested authorization to get a trap and trace on Zhang Li's email account. It gives me the email addresses of who he's talking to and their IP addresses, so I can get an understanding of how big his customer base is and how big his operation is.
Email is an extremely rich source of evidence for law enforcement. But that doesn't mean you can just read somebody's email in a law enforcement investigation because you're interested. You still have to develop probable cause and obtain a warrant from a federal judge in order to gain access to their email.
So Dave said, let's do a few more purchases and let's verify that this wasn't a fluke. Me and my counterpart from DCIS, we went through Zhang Li's website and picked out another software program, 2 of them. I went to Western Union and sent a Western Union payment to Zhang Li for these 2 programs. Same thing. Zhang Li sent us download links later that day.
Zhang Li was highly responsive. He was extremely attentive to customer relations. He would do whatever we needed him to do so long as we first paid him the money. That's the thing we noticed about him, is that he was all about the money.
So we downloaded the programs onto our laptop. We flew out to San Jose, met with the company. They looked at it and they figured out that this was a working copy of their program. Again, Zhang Li had cracked the license file to make it work. This software tested the structural integrity of airplanes, of spacecraft. Crack 99 was selling it as if it was, a Microsoft Office suite.
I was becoming increasingly concerned about the implications of the Crack 99 operation.
The biggest question for all of us was, where did this come from? How did he get it?
We didn't know if Crack 99 was a large number of people hacking into US servers. We didn't know if he had in-house crackers, meaning people who cracked the licensing file to enable access to the software.
I had no idea who I was communicating with, the originator, or if it was one of hundreds of sales reps.
It's an overseas target who's particularly difficult to identify because he's operating on the internet and is anonymous.
So on the Crack 99 website, there's an email address to contact them at gmail.com.
You might ask why he was using Gmail when it was hosted in the United States and therefore accessible by US law enforcement. And the answer is he wanted to use a readily available email that everybody was familiar with, as opposed to a Chinese email server.
Once we had completed our third purchase, we applied for a search warrant. The judge signed off on the search warrant, and we submitted our search warrant to Google.
It boggles my mind that he has a Gmail address.
We're lucky he did. What they gave me was all the incoming and outgoing emails from that account, and when we got the results, we realized that we had about 12,000 emails.
And that's when we understood the full scale of his operation. We could see he was selling to customers all over the world.
I saw government customers from places like Uganda, UAE, Saudi Arabia. I also saw some customers in there from places like Syria. In one particular case, it was for a government contract in Syria. Iran. He had plenty of people reach out to him from Iran.
We knew that we did, in fact, have a problem, and we really needed to pick up the pace in this investigation. If we don't stop Crack 99, the potential consequences are troops being hurt, terrorist attacks.
There's a reason this technology is restricted, and that's to avoid exactly this situation where the technology is being trafficked without any limitations all over the world.
We know we need to have a plan to meet him face to face, to ultimately make an arrest. The problem is that he's in China, we're in the United States.
As I was reviewing the emails, I saw that his customers were from over 60 different countries. He had emails from places like Syria and Iran. He doesn't care who his customers were. He just knew that they wanted a product, and he had it for them, and he had to figure out how to get it to them. And so ultimately, we found well over 500 transactions. And it's scary to think that stuff is in the wrong hands.
By mid-2010, we had looked through the emails, and at that point, we determined what the scope of the Crack 99 operation was. Crack 99 was Zhang Li. It was one person operating this website. And really, if you think about what the Crack 99 website was, it was an inventory of high-level, advanced software that had been stolen from the United States. Zhang Li never asked us why we wanted the software, who we were, how we were going to use it. He had no concern for the potential harm and the consequences his technology trafficking operation could cause.
So now we could get a federal arrest warrant for this guy, but it's not going to amount to much for somebody in China who's never going to leave. We needed a game plan that's going to appeal to him as a person that's going to want to leave the safety of his city in China and come to another country and meet us. It helped to go through all of his emails because I could figure out a little bit more about Zhang Li, and I'm seeing how he communicates with his customers, how he follows up. I mean, he really was dedicated to all of his customers to making sure that they got the product that they paid for. And so I knew that he was eager to please his customers. I wanted to use that to get him to travel to where we could arrest this guy.
We understood what his motivation was, and his motivation was money.
In my experience, greed is almost always what gets people caught. We're not talking about crimes of passion here, this is business. And they're violating the law to make money.
So the plan was that we would put a carrot on the stick in the form of more money.
So I was going to explain to him that I was a business broker for air and space software products in the United States, and that I had a customer base already that would be willing to pay considerably more than what he was selling his products for on Crack 99, and that together we could make a lot of money.
We told Zhang Li that we thought his prices in many cases were too low. We told him we could help him increase his revenue. So at this stage, we thought that communications needed to go beyond email to Skype calls.
And I know that he said in his emails he doesn't speak English.
And that's when we enlisted the assistance of a translator to start having some telephone conversations.
The point of these Skype calls, in addition to proposing this business idea, was just to develop a rapport and a relationship and trust.
Good morning, how are you? We're very excited about the software we got so far. It's been truly worth our while.
The undercover was very disarming, very friendly, he's a very natural person. That's what we needed for this part of the operation.
I want to explain an idea that we have here. The company found a market for his software. Small businesses are willing to pay a lot of money in the U.S. for his software. We can give him 50% for his support. That will be the partnership. At first he was a little guarded because he wasn't sure why I didn't just purchase the software from him and sell it to my customers without his knowledge. My story was I needed to have somebody that could troubleshoot. I'm not a computer guy. We're interested in acquiring his support for the software that we purchase. That's what we would need from him. If they had questions, I wouldn't be able to answer them. That's why I needed him. I put a value to his participation.
He said he needs to protect his identity.
Okay, I understand that.
He said he's not going to talk directly with our customer about price.
No, never.
So we'll be the one that talk the price.
Yeah, our customers will never know his identity. They'll only be dealing with us.
He says okay.
He was very interested in that because what all that meant was that he could make a lot more money in the U.S. market.
During that first call, we introduced the idea of us meeting in person.
Tell him I'm very excited about that. Does he travel to the U.S.? I would love to meet and invite him to our business.
He said he can provide in-town service, but he can come to U.S.
It didn't go very far. We had a little laugh about it, and we kind of just moved on. I knew it would be difficult to get him to travel, so I wanted to tread lightly. And then he introduced something new to us. He came back and said that he has another big surprise for us.
Yeah, there's something actually is very difficult to get.
What exactly?
It's the database is about 20 gigabytes.
20 gigs?
Yeah.
Now it wasn't just a hacked software program. Now it sounded like he had 20 gigabytes of internal data from a company.
It was software technology that had been stolen from a defense contractor and other information that was not public information.
What does that mean?
I can't tell you exactly what that was, but it was a threat to U.S. national security.
Did it escalate the urgency?
It did. Now they're hacking into U.S. companies and extracting the data. They gave us a price of $3,000. We sent payment to them, and it didn't come.
And this caused us to wonder whether he was suspicious. In the past, he was highly responsive, and he was highly attentive to customer relations.
We sent Zhang Li an email, and finally he wrote back, He said that the data is too large to transfer at this time via download. He said that he could mail the disk to us. He didn't do that either.
The purchase of the proprietary data also gave us another reason to meet with him face to face, and that was to transfer it on disk as opposed to by download. So what we had to do was figure out another place other than the US or China to meet. The issue really was where Zhang Li was willing to go.
And so we talked to him about us having this business trip coming up in the spring.
I may be doing a trip in March to Asia, but that's not confirmed yet.
I pitched him the idea of possibly meeting him along one of my business trips so we could discuss his business in the US.
You know, would he meet me to shake hands on our business partnership? Any business we can do it, we can communicate through the web, not necessary to meet.
He wasn't very interested. He was in a win-win situation. He could just communicate with his client base through email, so he didn't need to meet.
We became impatient at that point. We had done a couple of other purchases during this time, but we're losing a little bit of hope. And we didn't hear anything for a couple of days. And I remember it was on a Sunday, I logged in and checked the account to see if he had responded, and I saw that he wrote me in this broken English that he agrees to the traveler, is how he wrote it. He was gonna meet us.
Zhang Li reached out to us and said he would be willing to meet us on the island of Saipan.
He came up with Saipan. We were all very excited. That was on a Sunday. I remember calling Mike. He couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it.
From Zhang Li's perspective, Saipan was a great destination because it did not require a visa for him to travel there.
I was extremely happy that he chose Saipan. Saipan is a territory of the United States, and on Saipan, we would not have to get any special permission to conduct an undercover investigation. And furthermore, we would not have to worry about extradition to remove the defendant back to the mainland United States.
We'll talk to him soon. We're looking forward to him. We can't wait to meet, but also discuss some future business.
Our team from Philadelphia moved to Saipan, and we worked to put together our undercover operation. That included wiring a hotel room where we intended to have the meeting. We conducted an investigation that lasted a year and a half, and our ultimate goal was to present all this evidence to a jury in the United States and put him in jail.
Putting this kind of undercover meet together is complicated because there are a lot of moving pieces. If something goes wrong, anything could happen, right up to somebody being killed. There's a lot at stake.
The flight from China arrived early in the morning on June 6th, 2011, and I was there in the airport. I was nervous that he wasn't going to show, and thinking, how disappointing will this be if we do all this and we've come more than halfway around the world to this little island and he never shows.
So the case agent was inside the airport, made a positive identification of Zhang Li, but not only did he show up, but he also had his mother-in-law and his 5-year-old son with him.
He never let us know that his child and his mother-in-law would be coming. We were definitely surprised.
I don't think it's smart to bring your family members to a criminal rendezvous, and I don't recommend it.
You're dealing with human nature, so it's unlimited, the amount of surprises.
They went aboard the bus to the hotel, and at that point, we thought it likely that he would go to sleep. It was early in the morning. He had been on an airplane all night. That's not what happened.
We had Zhang Li's hotel under surveillance, and he came out, and they jumped into a Suzuki Samurai and took off.
We didn't know where he was going or who he was getting in with, and so we followed him, and we followed him all around the island.
And this was very concerning because we didn't know if he was meeting with somebody.
You go into this, you don't know if he brought other people with him, if he was going to be doing surveillance on us. I mean, there was always a concern that Zhang Li could have been a part of a larger operation. It could have been backed by the Chinese government.
From what we knew of him, we thought he was a Chinese businessman, but we didn't know. You can never assume that somebody's not dangerous.
I had a concern as to whether he might obtain a firearm. If there's one thing I've learned in a long career, it's that you never know who's capable of violence and who's not. We did have a plan in place for dealing with a contingency like that, and the agents were able to follow that car into the hills up until a point.
Until our path was cut off and we decided to stop the surveillance.
And then we just waited.
They broke off that surveillance, and one of the questions we had was whether he was suspicious. In particular, we wondered if maybe he had made our surveillance of him being watched at the airport. We just didn't know.
We went back to the hotel, and later on that night, he let us know that he had arrived, he was there, and he wanted to meet the next morning at 9 a.m. So we made arrangements with him that he would come and meet us at our hotel the next day. So we really didn't know anything about Zhang Li as the person, and so it was time to find out.
I really do enjoy being an undercover agent. I really enjoy meeting the subject face to face, engaging with the subject, and having him explain the criminal activity in his own words. I'm not worried about arresting him. That's what the cover team's for. I'm not worried about prosecuting him. That's what Dave Hall's for. I'm just there to get what I paid for and talk business.
So the next day comes and we're getting prepared, ensuring that we have our audio and video in place. And just a few minutes before we were supposed to meet, Zhang Li called our DCIS undercover agent and asked him if he could pick him up.
I want to accommodate Zhang Li's request, so now I actually have to get wired myself instead of just a room. My worst case scenario would be for him to say something and explain something that was critical to our investigation and not have it recorded.
And it's actually a big operation that all of a sudden we have to conduct on the fly. We need to have surveillance, agents following them for the safety of the agent.
I was wired up. I brought the translator with me. We drive maybe about a mile down the road to the hotel that he was staying at. As I pull up, I see Zhang Li. But what I didn't expect was his mother-in-law and his 5-year-old son, who was wearing a bathing suit and water wings. This is something I didn't expect. I was absolutely floored.
We certainly don't want to have any sort of meeting where anyone else is present except for him. We have to ensure that we are only going to talk to him, and that's it.
After I introduced myself and we exchanged hellos, I asked, "Why is your son here?" He said he wanted to bring his son to my hotel because we had a better pool. He had looked at my hotel online when doing his research. He said, while we discuss business in your hotel room, my son will swim and then we can all have lunch after our business meeting. So I told him that although our hotel was quite nice, they had a lot of security, and that I'd already witnessed them deny non-guests the right to swim on property. He agreed, and we drove back together in my car. You know, it hit me that his son was not going to be seeing his father after this, but at the end of the day, Zhang Li put himself in that situation. We were driving back to the hotel, and when I left, our tech agent was finishing up the placement of the various recording devices.
At the time that the undercover left to go pick up Zhang Li, the tech agent stopped all the recording devices in the hotel room. And the reason he did this is that they're all battery powered. And we didn't want the batteries to run out before the end of the undercover meeting. So he shut everything down, and he was in the hotel room waiting for Zhang Li and the undercover to return.
So what I like to do is when I'm on my way back is just, point out different points of interest to give them an idea how far away I am, because they can hear me. I have an open transmitter. So on the way back, I'm pointing out that this is my hotel up here on the left. As we pull in, I make note about the different shops in the lobby as we approach our elevator so that I can, give time for the tech agent to finish up and that everybody can be in place. So myself, the translator, and Zhang Li, we enter my hotel room.
I actually got this for you, thinking you'd be here sooner. Thank you.
As the meeting was progressing, I got to a point where I actually took out my my telephone and I looked at my email.
Yes.
And I saw an email from the tech agent. His email stated, "Don't shit yourself. I'm in the bathroom."
I actually got this for you, thinking you'd be here sooner.
When I went in with Zhang Li and the translator, the tech agent was still in our hotel room. He was turning on the batteries for the recording devices. The individuals that had the radio went back across the hall to get in place, and he didn't realize until we came to actually put the key in the door that he then jumped into the bathroom. After I got, he was hiding in the bathroom. So I then chuckle, I turn to the translator.
Look at my wife, she's been emailing me all day. You know?
And I show her the phone so she can read the tech agent's email. I said, "Can you believe my wife still hasn't gotten down the time zone? She still doesn't know what time it is here?"
My wife, she's nervous. My wife's nervous.
Because at any given time, Zhang Li could ask to use the bathroom.
The UC has the most difficult job at this point because it's now his responsibility to ensure that we elicit all of the facts that we need and identify that Zhang Li was in fact the person that's committed these crimes.
We had audio and video rolling. And we were in another room that was right across the hall. And we were the takedown team.
He wants to know if your clients would ever find his clients.
There was a second undercover who was an HSI agent who spoke fluent Mandarin. From my point of view as the prosecutor, I wanted to make sure that there was no question about what was said during that meeting.
Yeah, just ask him if he can just explain it. It's been a while since our transactions.
I wanted to make sure that if this matter went to trial, that Zhang Li would never be able to say, well, English is not my native language. I didn't understand what the undercover was saying, and therefore I really didn't have any criminal intent.
At first, he was still a little guarded, and then I think he realized that everything that had been put in place is actually coming true.
And that's when he started presenting all the stuff that we had purchased that we never received.
No, it took a while. We paid for this a couple months ago. You get out there. Yeah.
Just like I do in any of my undercover meets, I actually have a list of objectives I need to meet. First and foremost, I need to establish identity. I need to know that who I'm meeting with is the person that I was communicating with. I have to put him behind the keystrokes.
When I email you your email, that's just you. There's no other sales.
Yes. Nobody else.
He became very comfortable with me. He enjoyed showing me how to smuggle the software out of the country.
Separate? Okay. So
Packaging separate from the disc.
should I put the discs in something like that?
Yes.
And he explained different methods on hiding and concealing the software, at which point I raised my hands up as if I had handcuffs on, and he chuckled and said, no, you won't have to worry about that. You won't be arrested.
It's not a problem just when they ask, tell them it's study materials or educational.
Okay. Because we know that in our country that's illegal, as companies, and they reached out and contacted him, and
No problem. Okay, so you're saying that there's only been a handful of companies that have contacted him, like, hey, you're stealing our stuff, and then you just delayed speaking to them.
okay.
And once he said that, this told me that he understood that what he was doing was illegal, and specifically was illegal under U.S. law.
We established that Zhang Li was the person that we were talking to through email. We established that Zhang Li knew that what he was doing was in fact illegal in the United States. We established the fact that he had smuggled now this software into Saipan.
The meet was going well. Zhang Li was talking a lot. We were getting some good information. And it was time to bring it down and end the undercover meet. The meet was going well. Zhang Li was talking a lot, and we were getting some good information.
We established that Zhang Li was the person that we were talking to through email. We established that Zhang Li knew that what he was doing was in fact illegal in the United States. We established the fact that he had smuggled now this software into Saipan. Now pretty much all that was left was to make the arrest.
We were still discussing things, but at that point, I wasn't going to go forward with anything else. I got everything that I wanted to get out of him. So we had set up a phrase that I would use with my cover team that would show that the meeting was done and that it was time to come in and arrest Zhang Li. The phrase was, "Our business is done here in Saipan."
Now that all of our business is done here in Saipan, we can now relax. There's nothing else you can do.
We arrested everybody in the room and then separated everybody. And this was kind of the moment I had been preparing for as the case agent, because now I had my questions for Zhang Li. We read him his rights in Chinese, and we understood them, and he signed off and agreed to talk to us. We sat there and we really talked about everything. And he was very cooperative with us at first.
Zhang Li denied being the hacker. He said he obtained the software from hackers that he would meet online. He also denied being the cracker.
And that's when he explained to me about these fan groups and about hacking groups in these message boards throughout China and Russia. All these programs had been hacked and cracked by other people and put on numerous online groups, but it would be a site that was disjointed and difficult to navigate. So he would find as many cracked software programs as he could find, and he would compile them and post them on his website. And then people could do searches, they could find what they need, and they could get fully functioning copies that they wouldn't be able to find on these Chinese language message boards. And at the time, nobody else was doing that. People would say, "Do you have whatever software program?" And then he would just keep looking and keep looking. It was almost like it was his crusade to get operational, cracked software to as many people as he possibly could.
Zhang Li had a real capitalist point of view. He was trying to make money. So ultimately, we concluded he probably was not working for the Chinese government or otherwise an agent of the Chinese government, and that he was really a privateer, meaning he was an internet pirate who was selling stolen software for his own profit.
I don't think he knew the retail values of these programs. I think if he did, I think he would have upped his prices a little bit. I just don't think he quite understood how much he was giving to people.
Why was he driving around the island?
In the end, we did determine what actually was going on, and it was not the case that he had become suspicious of us. He wanted to do some sightseeing. He was trying to squeeze a vacation into a business meeting. In other words, he really was mixing business and pleasure. After we arrested Zhang Li, we went to the hotel to conduct a search of his hotel room, and his mother-in-law and his son were there. And that was inevitably a sad thing.
It's awful. Yeah, no, it's awful. It's an innocent victim.
But my ultimate conclusion on that was a sad event that was of Zhang Li's creation and that it was his fault. And I took Zhang Li's son downstairs to the lobby and I bought him an ice cream cone.
Why did you buy him an ice cream cone?
Well, I bought him an ice cream cone because this was a bad day. And ice cream cones don't make bad days good days, but maybe it makes it a little better.
Cybercrime is all of our cases now. It spans, the realm of all of our investigations that we do.
The public is not fully aware of how successful some of these attacks have been. This is a staggering number. $1 trillion in losses because of cyber attacks.
During the time period of the Zhang Li investigation, the federal government was becoming much more aware of and attuned to the cyber threat.
Within an hour, hackers had seized control of the unclassified email system used by the Pentagon's Joint Staff.
Iranian hackers infiltrated computer software that controls the floodgates of this Rye, New York dam.
Computer spies have reportedly stolen information about the F-35.
Among the data reportedly stolen, designs for the F-35 and details about the jet's radar systems, as well as flight diagnostics.
In 2010, Cybercom was established, which is a combatant command in the Department of Defense that's specifically directed to deal with the cyber threat.
Whether you're working an export case or a child exploitation case or a fraud case, everything is done over the web. And so whether I want to or not, I have to be able to look into how these people are conducting their activity online. I got to figure out what servers they're working off, who they're talking to, how they're talking to these people. I got to figure out how I'm going to identify them and pull them out of the shadows.
Zhang Li was charged with a number of conspiracy counts. He was charged with criminal copyright violations. He was charged with wire fraud. He pled guilty to the most serious charges and was sentenced on that basis to 12 years in prison, which was the heaviest sentence ever imposed in a criminal copyright case.